Are you over 60? In this video we will see what is the most dangerous meat you can eat. Perhaps, like many people, you have a rather simple, and sometimes wrong, idea about which meat is good and which is bad for your health. We've been told for years that red meat is dangerous, that we should eat less of it, and that white meat like chicken is better, healthier. Then there's fish, often considered the absolute champion for heart health, full of omega-3s. This is the classic division, almost everything we have ever heard on the subject. They avoid beef, eat lean chicken and lots of fish. The reasons? Mainly related to different amounts of saturated fat and cholesterol, and their supposed impact on diseases such as heart attack. But what if I told you that much of this common perception is completely wrong? That the meat that is most dangerous to you, to your metabolism, to the well-being of the elderly, may not be the one you think? I'm so excited to delve into this topic with you, to break down the details and compare different types of meat to help you really understand what's going on your plate. So get ready because we're going to go slow, keep it simple, but reveal important truths. But before we dive into this crucial and often misunderstood topic, I ask you to like this video and share it with people you think could benefit from this information. In this way, you will help us grow, and them to feel better. And please let us know in the comments where you stand, and what your current perception of meat is. Do you eat a lot of red meat? Do you prefer chicken or fish? We'd love to hear from you. In this video, we will reveal what is the most dangerous meat you can eat, analyzing the different types, their fats, production methods, and their real impact on your health after 60. And if you stay until the end, you will discover not only the most dangerous meat, but also the absolute number one is the best option you can choose for your well-being. Well, let's start by looking at the truth about the composition of different meats. Often, we only talk about the total amount of fat. Of course, there is a great deal of variation based on the cut. A lean beef tenderloin has little fat, while fattier cuts can reach 30% fat. But when we cook these fatty cuts, for example, ground beef, a lot of the fat contained in them melts away, rarely will more than 15% remain. Pork, on average, is a little leaner than beef overall, around 10 to 15%. But again, it varies a lot, think chop versus rib-eye. Chicken, or rather, poultry in general, also has a wide spectrum. A skinless breast is very lean, but skin legs and wings add fat. If you eat a whole chicken, the average will be just under 10%. What about fish? There's a huge difference between species. Salmon, often touted for its healthy fats and low mercury, is around 13%. So when it comes to total fat, the difference is more about the cut you choose than the type of animal itself. But now let's talk about the different types of fats present. They are not all the same. We find monounsaturated fatty acids, such as those in olive oil and avocado, which are considered healthy. Many people think that meat only has saturated fats, but in reality, surprisingly, beef contains about 45% monounsaturated fats of the total fat. Pork is similar, chicken a little less, and fish a little higher. So, even from animal products we get these healthy fats. Then there are saturated fats, which we often think of when we talk about meat and cholesterol. Again, they are not inherently unhealthy, especially if they come from an animal that has lived a healthy life. In beef, about 40% of the fat is saturated. In pork, about 35%. In chicken, about 30%. In salmon, about 20%. All, as you can see, contain significant amounts. What about cholesterol? The next problem often associated with meat-related heart disease. Let's look at the numbers in milligrams. Remember, total fat is measured in grams, so we're on a much smaller scale here, milligrams per 100 grams of meat. In beef, about 80. In pork, the same. In chicken, the same. In salmon, a little less, but still in the same range. So when people tell you that meat cholesterol is so terrible, remember that it's not true. If we add monounsaturated and saturated fats, we get about 85% of the fat in beef, a little less in pork and chicken, and about 60% in salmon. What's in the rest? Polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are generally considered good, and contain mostly omega-6s and omega-3s. Both are necessary. However, with modern nutrition, intensive farming, and the use of refined vegetable oils, we consume too much omega-6. So, while omega-3s may traditionally be considered good, omega-6s are considered potentially inflammatory. This is where the production method comes in. Compare grass-fed beef to factory-farmed beef. In the larger plants, thousands of animals live in horrible conditions, eat unhealthy food, often grains, get sick, and take antibiotics. This is not only cruel, it affects the meat. In grass-fed beef, however, the omega-6/omega-3 ratio is completely different, considered very healthy and optimal for us. In intensively raised beef, omega-3 becomes almost non-existent. The same can be said about pork. Intensively raised pork has fats that are harmful to our health, while grass-fed pork, on the contrary, is much healthier and good for our health. Moving on to salmon, we note that wild salmon is much healthier and contains a very high amount of omega-3. Farmed salmon, on the other hand, is often unhealthy and contains more omega-6 than omega-3. Therefore, farmed salmon is harmful to our health, wild salmon is the best of all. So, to recap and categorize meats, the best option for our health is to eat grass-fed beef and wild salmon. Grass-fed beef is healthy, clean food, if organic, has an anti-inflammatory compound, conjugated linoleic acid, and a great omega-6/omega-3 ratio. Wild salmon is the best source of omega-3s, although you have to be careful of marine toxins and not overdo it. A couple of times a week is enough. In third place, I put pastured chicken and pork. They are healthy food if raised properly, free to roam, eat bugs and grass. The fat ratio is not as great as beef or salmon, because there is more omega-6 than omega-3, but it is decent. Now, let's look at the options to be much more careful about. From fifth place onwards, we have factory farmed animals and farmed fish. Fifth place is farmed salmon, sixth place is farmed beef, seventh place is farmed pork, eighth place is farmed chicken. They have a lot in common: horrible conditions, use of antibiotics and potential hormones. Much worse omega-6 to omega-3 ratios, often with artificial coloring in the salmon to make it look red. So, remember, we have two broad categories: natural, green, relatively healthy, great as a base for your diet if you find and cook it yourself, and factory farms. But the real most dangerous meat is often not the type of animal or even the factory farm, but what we do to the meat afterwards. And here is where the most dangerous meat is, the one that, if you are over the age of 60, you should consider eliminating or drastically reducing to avoid risks such as cancer, heart attack, diabetes, obesity, and worsening your metabolism and cholesterol. I am talking about processed meat. Not just ground beef or whole breast meat. I am talking about processed meat that comes from mass production. The one that has been transformed into a chemical experiment. To these meats, a lot of things are added: artificial flavors, colors, sugars, in the form of high fructose corn syrup, preservatives and additives with unpronounceable names, modified starch, protein isolates, often soy, binders and fillers. Sometimes, there is barely any meat left. Think of chicken nuggets. Do you think you're feeding chicken to your kids or eating it as a healthy snack? It's the worst kind of chicken possible. Think about it, it could be less than 50% meat. The rest is chemicals: bread, wheat, soy, rich in omega-6. And then it's often fried in oils rich in omega-6. This goes for cheap sausages, hot dogs, canned meats, fish fingers, often made with low-quality fish and lots of fillers, and most standard deli meats and cold cuts, unless you choose the specific organic, grass-fed, additive-free ones. So, the perception that red meat is bad in chicken, which we find everywhere in fast food, almost sold as healthy food, is good, is turned on its head. The most dangerous meat is not beef or pork itself. It is the meat from intensive farming, but especially the processed meat resulting from that mass production. It is the combination of the unhealthy source and the addition of everything that your body, especially after the age of 60, has a hard time managing and eliminating. So, if you are over 60 and you really want to take care of your health, your diet, your eating habits for your well-being for life and to avoid serious risks, reduce or eliminate processed meat from mass production. When you eat meat, choose quality, grass-fed beef, free-range chicken and pork, wild fish. This is real healthy food, the nutrition you need.